Welcome back. There's been a lot of drama lately when it comes to OPEC, which is expected to resume negotiations this week with non-OPEC countries to forge an agreement for a reduction in oil output, driving up the cost of oil to provide relief to struggling OPEC countries. Colin, can you see through the politics of oil?
The politics of oil are, well, they're very murky. So apparently, I think the one change that occurred today is they have reached a deal to reduce production. I think the problem with OPEC is entirely that there's too much politics involved. We have played this game of manipulating oil prices in order to hurt Vladimir Putin, which is not necessarily a bad thing, and it certainly was an effective way of reducing his ability to gain revenue. But oil production should be based on consumption and along with policy when it comes to controlling or encouraging better efficiency and everything else. The end result of having kept prices so low for so long, we have actually hurt our own oil industry and the Canadian oil industry, especially in the oil sands, very expensive to extract, and it just hasn't made sense, and it's led to a loss of a lot of very, very high-paying jobs in those areas. I think the net result, and it's going to hurt everybody at the pump.
Right.
Oil prices are going to go up, which means that
gas price goes up.
$2. Now why? Why is it going up? Under the Democrat, the price of oil came down. The price of gas came down. Gas was at $3.89 a gallon. I just bought gas in Virginia last week for $1.89. Now it's going to go back up. There is a Republican oil man, billionaires running the country. The price of oil, it already went up today, 49 something a barrel. Watch what happens over the next couple months and watch the pump by next year this time, because Republicans are in control.
Yeah, but I think you're making a good point. However, keep in mind the fact that we had been keeping prices, again, artificially low because Saudi Arabia had agreed to pump out more oil and a couple of other countries were pumping out more.
And we were pumping out way more. The US of A.
Were we pumping out more?
Yes.
Because
I don't even think we're dependent on Saudi Arabian oil.
No, we actually have overtaken Saudi Arabia as a producer of oil. However, most of that oil is coming out of oil sands. Oil sands oil is much harder to extract. So we have huge reserves of oil sands. Previously, we didn't have the extraction technology to extract it. Now we do. However, if the price of oil is not at $60 or more a barrel, oil sands production makes no sense, no economic sense. You're losing money extracting it. So yes, we're sitting on large reserves, but actually our oil industry has gone down in those areas, in the Dakotas, in Alberta, where the oil sands are, because the price of oil was so low. So where you had an oil and gas boom in North Dakota a few years ago, it's pretty much a ghost town now.
Take your cars up, increase the gas mileage on your vehicle.
So OPEC may end up actually hurting themselves in the long run should the price of oil go too high, because then we're going to have incentive to start extracting the oil sands.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think it's ludicrous that we should be dependent on other areas of the world. The reality, and this has always seemed to me like a Faustian bargain. The fact that we have had to kowtow to one of the most, and forgetting the irony that Saudi Arabia is the head of the Human Rights Commission, which they behead people and they don't let women drive. But forgetting all that, we've had to kowtow to one of the most repressive regimes and most backwards regime on the face of the planet, because they held us by the fuel pump.
Right. I'm going to quote Sarah Palin: "Drill, baby, drill." Let's start drilling. Let's tap into our oil reserves. And
I don't think anything that Sarah Palin ever said should be quoted. And that's not so much a content as it is a source.
But no, I really think that let's go ahead and let's start looking into, okay, they're going to drive the oil prices up. What can we do to keep them down?
I think there's a couple of things we do. One, obviously increase efficiency. And that's something that's happening organically in the market. And the other is, eventually, we have a finite amount of oil. Now, whether that's 40 years, 60 years, however production changes based on efficiency and everything else, we will eventually run out of oil.
Absolutely.
We need to figure out something other than oil that we can use to power things. And then, honestly, if we do that and we can completely get off of oil, then we can give people like Saudi Arabia a very, very pleasant hand gesture.
Yeah, at some point in time you will, but I would bring up again, for the last 8 years, the price of gas has been far cheaper than it was the previous 8 years. So watch what happens, watch the manipulation and all the verbiage that goes on of how we're losing production, why companies aren't investing in more research and building more wells. It's all a manipulative way to get back to put money into the pockets of the billionaires. Up next, Fast Five. Stay tuned.